Greetings, family. Israeli drone strike this morning at a school and a refugee camp. Some victims include Al Jazeera news journalists, and I wanted to share with you the commentary from their senior political analyst. Let's have a listen to what he has to say. Oh, and this is for educational purposes only.
Let's take this one point by one point. Let's dissect the various aspects of it. But first of all, the fact that it's done by drone, which has cameras on it, and it was done to a school. It's called the Haifa school. Haifa, right? They name a school of a city that's been occupied in 48 by Israel, what's today become Israel. But anyway, so this is probably a refugee school, right, called Haifa. Attacked by drone, which means whoever is pushing the button and knows close by from a drone what is they attacking. They're attacking a school. And Wael and Samir Abu Dakka, his colleague, were there. So they were hit by shrapnel. I think this level of bombings, this level of intensification will continue for weeks. So we're clear. This is not stopping. When they talk about phasing out, we don't know if there's going to be days, weeks, or a couple of months. We actually don't know, and Jake Sullivan doesn't know. Jake Sullivan, like Antony Blinken, are so weak in their dealing with Netanyahu that they don't really get much of any real ironclad commitment on anything. Right? If anything, Jake Sullivan is kind of the one who's walking away with Israeli lines about it's going to take time to defeat Hamas. We will phase it out, but it's not clear how long, when does it start. And he agreed with the Israelis that it will take months in general, in terms of the war and its objectives in defeating Hamas. The second thing is, as we've been talking, far more civilians are dying than anything resembles Hamas militants dying in this war. Right? So clearly, from the outset, from the get-go, as it were, the civilians have been targeting. And this continues to be the case. And Jake Sullivan today reminded us once again of this blind spot called Israel in American politics, right? Justifying war crimes. He went on air today in a press conference, and once again, for some, for me, illogical reason, why the National Security Advisor would once again repeat one argument after one debunked argument made by the Israelis, such as about human shield or right for self-defense, blah, 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 while journalists and doctors and children are getting killed in Gaza. It's not understood. In normal human or international relations of why the United States continue to justify, not explain, not defend, justify, meaning Israel is right to do it. Israel is right to be killing those children, those journalists, and continue with its bombing and so on and so forth, that it has the right excuse to do that, which is presumably October 7. But on October 7, according to Libération, the French latest investigation into what happened October 7, one Israeli child died. And we call that criminal, the death of one Israeli child by Hamas. What do we call the death of 7,000 Palestinian children since? What do you call that? When from the get-go it was clear that the Israeli leadership, the president, the prime minister, and the defense minister were justifying, were explaining to us in plain language that the population of Gaza is their target, that there are no innocents in Gaza, and that they are human animals to be dealt with collective punishment, with starvations, right? And that has been the thing that's been unrolling. So Jake's world after the Holocaust. What does it mean in today's Fourth Geneva Convention when one leader tells another leader, go get justice? Go get justice. That's not part of a humanitarian law. That's not part of international law. It means go get revenge. Go get revenge. And for the past 70 days, we've been living a vengeful war by one tribe called Israel, right? Against the population of Gaza, and apparently against the population of the West Bank.
I wanted to ask you about that because we are obviously at the moment we're particularly focused on Gaza because of the injuries that have been sustained by our colleague while Dawood and his cameraman Samir Abu Dakka in what we believe is a strike by an Israeli drone. But of course this is wider than Gaza. It is also the West Bank, as you referred to, and there are journalists being killed there. Now again, the death of journalists is something that would resonate with anybody who's in the industry, but at the same time, it is equal to and no greater than the deaths and suffering of all the people in all the Palestinians in these regions who have to face this kind of thing on a daily basis. And as Charles Chatwood, our correspondent, was talking about, there have been so many intensifying raids, particularly in the West Bank, that it is almost simply accepted daily that is what life is like now in the West Bank.
Absolutely. The West Bank has been reoccupied again and again. And now the Israeli soldiers roam and go in and out of West Bank cities, West Bank refugee camps, arresting thousands upon thousands of young people and old people, putting them in jail in the name of security, apparently, which I don't know how suddenly it became urgent to scoop up thousands and thousands of civilians, killing hundreds in the process, right, in the last 70 days, and continue with the same assault on all parts of the Palestinian society, including those who presumably we know of no Hamas presence whatsoever. Clearly, Hamas is not a military presence in the West Bank. We know that for a fact. But that does not prevent Israel from going in and doing that job, while the Palestinian Authority sit idly by, silent, encouraged by the United States to keep quiet, and in fact, make sure that everyone else keeps quiet under its control, for some promise that in the future, when Israel finishes destroying Gaza and venturing in the occupied territories, that President Biden has a vision. You know, we don't know what he's on, but anyway, he has a vision of a two-state solution. He's selling the Palestinian leader, or the Palestinian leadership, a pipe dream today. Because we know that the Israelis, every time Biden talks about the vision of two-state, the Israeli says, no, absolutely not. There will be no two states between the river and the sea. There will only be one sovereignty, and that's the Israeli sovereignty. Netanyahu has been telling us every day, after Biden telling us about a two-state vision, that Israel will never accept a Palestinian state, let alone what Netanyahu called a Fatahistan, meaning one run by the Palestinian Authority. I just heard, just earlier before I came on this platform with you, Ami Ayalon, a former head of the Shabak, former head of the internal security services in Israel, saying why it's Israel that's acting like Talibistan, like the Taliban of Afghanistan, like ISIS. Ami Ayalon, a former head of the internal security, said it's not Hamas, it's not the Palestinian Authority, it's Israel that's been acting like ISIS in Gaza, with a genocidal intention to destroy everything living in Gaza. When a former head of Shabak says that to you, right, in public, and he said, that's not my opinion, he said, Ami Ayalon, he said, it's not my opinion. He's telling that, by the way, in a round table with a former American official, right? He said, that's not my opinion. That's what my former colleagues, meaning those who are running Israel today, telling him, that Israel is intent on destroying Gaza. And they basically have the same mindset like ISIS. And that's what they want to do in the West Bank. They want to undo the Palestinian Authority. What one Israeli professor by the name of Kimmerling, by the way, called it politicide, meaning they want to destroy the political infrastructure of the Palestinian nation. They want to destroy not just the civic infrastructure, they want to destroy the political structure of the Palestinian nation. They want to make it, they want to unnationalize it, right? This is the objective of this Israeli government, according to Israel's own, right, leading experts and officials who have been listening also, like we have been listening to Israeli officials, declaring their intent on destroying Gaza and preventing the emergence of any kind of sovereign entity on the West Bank.
They tell you exactly what they plan to do.